You can tell by the rainbow colors that it must be Pride Month. Yay! Good morning, everybody, and welcome to my weekly vlog for June the 7th, 2021, vlog number 220. And it's day 453 of COVID, or now I'm counting it by days since I've had a haircut. It has been 68 days since I last got my hair cut. And I'm Steven, by the way, as if you didn't know. Forgot to say that at the beginning. Oh, well, let's mix it up a little bit for variety. Yeah, 68 days since the last time I got a haircut. I'm feeling like a hippie. Actually, I'm feeling like I felt like when I was in grade 12, because in grade 12 I had hair down to here. But that's a long time ago. That was last century. Anyways, hopefully soon that will open up because, of course, here in Ontario, Canada, we are still in a form of lockdown. We can only go out for essential items like food. We can do curbside pickup, but we can't go inside stores. We can gather with people up to 5 outside. And I have a feeling there's a lot of people not following any of those rules right now, and thus COVID goes on as a result. But anyways, there is hope, I hope. And I'm looking forward to getting my second shot, but that's not going to come until probably the end of this month, which is a little sooner than they first predicted. But later on, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I call the vaccine roulette that our government is playing with us here in Ontario and in Canada in general. But before I do that, let's look at my current projects. June is Pride Month here in my area and in a lot of areas around North America and possibly the world as well. Wherever there is civilized countries that realize that people that belong to the LGBTQ plus community are humans, I guess, basically, and deserve all the rights that go along with being a human, then you will find it is Pride Month. Sadly, there are some places in the world where being gay, lesbian, bisexual, etc., all under the umbrella of the LGBTQ2 plus community, is punishable by law and death. Yeah, not civilized at all. But anyways, to create something festive for Pride Month, I decided to make this banner behind me, and that is hanging on my front door of my house. It turned out pretty good. It was just made from scraps, just strips from a jelly roll I had laying around that had all the colors of the rainbow flag, the Pride flag. And yes, I'm missing a few colors because there are several flags now in the Pride community. There's the transgender flag. There's a lot of different flags, but I'm going with the one that's most recognizable and the standard pretty much in the LGBTQ plus, say that fast 5 times, community. You'll notice my maple leaves at the side. I put those on because I am a proud Canadian and I'm a proud gay Canadian as well. And I found this embroidery design for these maple leaves. So all those maple leaves you see on there are all embroidered on my machine. Yes, it did take a while. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I think it's very colorful. It looks great on the door, front door of my house as well. And it will stay up there until the end of June. So that's one thing I've been up to. And because you know I love doing machine embroidery and machine applique, freestanding lace, all those things, well, I did find a pattern for a quilt that is an applique quilt, but you do it in the hoop on the embroidery machine. And it's called the Rose of Sharon, and there are 18 different blocks. And this is what, I've got 2 of the blocks done. And it is variation on these types of flowers. And right now, it will take me a while to do all 18 blocks. As I said, I've only have 2 of them done at the moment. But these will eventually become a quilt. But if you look at them really close, the stitching on it looks like hand applique. But it's not. I'm cheating. It's all done by the machine. I just have to lay down the fabric and away it goes. So something a little different. Yes, as Walter would say, it is kind of old lady looking. There's a word. But I prefer to think of it as vintage. And yeah, I think it'll look quite nice when it's done. And this will become maybe a modern heirloom quilt. I mean, I'm looking at my grandmother's quilts and with applique on them, and they're absolutely stunning. And they're all hand done, and she was such a meticulous and excellent sewer that looking at her stitches, and in a modern sense, look like they've been done by a machine. That's how precise they are. Well, I could never, ever in 1,000 years be that precise. So I'm doing it the modern way with a machine. And there's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned, because I love technology. And I think anybody who gets too uptight about, using a machine to assist them with their quilting or their sewing, let's think about some of the modern appliances that are machines that we use every day and take for granted, like your stove or your microwave or your toaster. Okay? Think about doing things that you would have to do in those by hand. Yeah. Welcome to the present and the future. Okay. So that's what I've been working on. It's, we're moving into summer, but I am sure that a lot of people now are taking advantage of the nicer weather to clean out their garages and get things organized around their house and whatnot. I should be doing that. I'm not, but I should be doing that. But I found a fairly inspirational YouTube channel that would help you with organizing, because, let's face it, when you start looking at a pile of stuff you need to organize, you'd rather be doing something else, and you put it off and you put it off, and the pile just gets bigger. So you might want to check out this YouTube called the Crafty Organizer. This week's YouTube channel is called the Crafty Organizer, and this lady professes to be a professional organizer. This is her livelihood. She does have a lot of really neat tips and tricks, and she shows you how to do reorganizing and decluttering of your home using items you may already have. So you do some recycling, reusing, or things you can buy at the Dollar Tree or other cheap outlets that have, storage solutions. I don't find all her videos that great. A lot of them are just common sense things, but if you're the kind of person who doesn't really know where to begin in your mess, let's say, she probably gives you some good ideas that will psychologically get you in the mood to clean up. So it's worth checking out for ideas and for inspiration on things about organizing. The link for the Crafty Organizers in the show notes below. Is in the show notes below? I'm having a little problem with syntax today for some reason. There's a link to Stephen and Walter Live, and in honor of Pride Month, I'm going to see if we can talk about the theme for each week will be something to do with gay pride. Mainly because Pride Month is something that gets criticized because people say oftentimes, why do you need a whole month? Well, it's the same reason why we have a whole month dedicated to the lives and histories of Black people as well. Because there is a history associated with pride that a lot of people don't know anything about. Just like in the Black community or in the Indigenous community, we are not taught in school about the true history of those cultures. And, if you learn about the history of something, you start to have a better understanding of why things are the way they are today. So we're going to do some education about gay life, the history of pride, things like that, during the month of June on Stephen and Walter Live. And we start it by looking at some of the common comments that gay people will hear at this time of year. Like, why is it you need a gay pride parade? We don't have a straight parade. Why is it that gay people are so outlandish in their mannerisms. Why can't you just fit in? All of these kind of things. So we discussed those yesterday on Stephen Walter Live, and next week we're going to talk about coming out, which is a process, I'm sure you've heard of this, that most people of the LGBTQ plus community eventually do. And yeah, it was generated, this idea was generated by a question that was asked by one of the viewers yesterday. She was afraid that she might offend us by asking that question, and we said, no, actually, to the contrary, we are flattered that you want to know, because that says you want to learn. And we couldn't handle that question on yesterday's Stephen Walter Live because it's just too involved. So next week we are going to handle that question, and we're going to talk about it from a very personal point of view. We're going to talk about it from, you know, what we went through when we came out. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So that's on Stephen and Walter this coming Sunday. Okay, so there's a link to the latest Idiot Quilter episode. There's a link to the latest So Chatty, our favorite things. We got kind of really involved in that. It was only going to be a couple of things, and well, we got into a lot of things. And we talked about not just our favorite things, but some of the things we don't like, or things that we bought that we never use. You know the idea. In any kind of hobby you do, you, especially at the beginning of it, you buy a lot of things and you really don't need those things, or you don't end up using them, whatever. So we talk about that. Also, there's an issue that I'm going to bring up in a moment that has to do with YouTube and advertising. And I've put a couple of links in the show notes that will maybe shed some light on this problem. And I think right now would be a good time to talk about that problem. Now, I went into it very extensively on Stephen and Walter Live yesterday, so I don't intend to do that again here. But just to say this, you may find as you're watching my videos and other content creators' videos, it's not just to me, that there is an abundance of advertising during their videos. You may wonder why suddenly there's so much more advertising than the usual. Well, it's because YouTube has changed their policy. YouTube has decided that whether you're monetized or not monetized, you will have advertising. And creators will not have much control as to how many advertisements are shown during one of those videos and where they're placed. Now, I am doing a few things to try and limit the disruption, but my hands are pretty much tied, as all creators of content for YouTube's hands are tied. We really have no control. So the best thing I can say is we can all complain about it as much as we want, but the bottom line is we're at the whim of the great gods of YouTube. We can't change it. We can't do anything about it. Essentially, the way I look at it is, back 30 years ago, before we had PVRs and things like that, and the ability to skip ahead and pass commercials on regular TV channels, we had to sit through the commercials. And we usually had quite a few of them. YouTube has now regressed into that time period. That's exactly what YouTube is doing, because YouTube is the new TV. Really, a lot of people don't even have a cable subscription or whatever to regular television. They use YouTube as their main source of entertainment. And that's the price we pay. YouTube is free. It's free to put up a YouTube channel. It is free to watch it. So we have to put up with the commercials. And I know it's annoying. And as I said, I am trying, and I'm sure other creators are too, are trying to do whatever we can to try and limit the inconvenience and the annoyance of these things. But our hands are pretty much tied. So we just have to bear up to it. Now, somebody sent me an email the other day and said that on the last So Chatty, she counted 15 advertisements, and So Chatty was about an hour long. And somebody else sent me an email and said there was an ad every 3 minutes. They timed it. I can't do anything about that. I am sorry. But that's what YouTube is doing. Now, the weird thing is, I went to my own channel, my own video, the same one, and checked it out, and I didn't see any ads. So I don't know what that's all about. I really don't. So I guess what I'm saying is, please be patient. Maybe YouTube will get the idea, if there's enough complaints from viewers and content creators, that they need to readjust this policy, although they don't really listen to anybody. So I doubt that's going to happen, but we'll see. So I just thought I'd make you aware of that situation before I get sent all kinds of comments about something I have no control over. Okay, so what else is pissing me off this week besides that? Well, really, I call it Russian roulette, vaccine roulette, because that's how our Ontario government is doling out or handling the vaccination process right now in our province. What I mean by this is, what about the second shot? Many of us have had the first shot. We're waiting, to be told when we can get the second shot. But now they're saying, well, you can mix and match. Now, I got the AstraZeneca because that's the one that was available at the time that I could get a shot. They were saying it was perfectly safe, although there was those rare blood clots happening, but basically 1 in whatever million that might happen to. So, and we had no choice. If we wanted the shot, we had to get the AstraZeneca at that point in time. And I'm talking back in April when we got our shot. Or was it in towards the 1st of May? Last track of time. Anyways, it was late April, 1st of May. So now they're saying, though, oh, no, it's okay now. Now you can, the second shot of AstraZeneca, not a problem. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Now, quite frankly, and it might be because I'm a little foolish about this, I don't get too upset about side effects. I've been lucky. I get a flu shot every year, and there are side effects to that. I knock wood, cross my fingers, all that stuff. I never have any side effects from it. Beyond the fact that at the injection site, it might be a little sore for, a day, something like that, but nothing major. I have never really had any major reactions to any kind of medication I have ever taken in my life. Again, I'm very lucky. Okay, I realize that some people aren't so lucky with that. So I'm not really worried about if my second shot's going to be AstraZeneca. That's fine with me. I'm okay with that. But now what our government is saying is, oh, you can mix and match. So if Moderna comes up and it's available, or the Pfizer one, yeah, sure, you can take that. There's no problem with it. But then other ones are coming on saying, well, you could, but we really strongly suggest that you go with the one you got for the first shot. Mixed messages. All through this whole crisis, that's what we've had, amongst other things, are mixed messages about stuff. And you know why we're getting mixed messages, don't you? Because they don't know. It's really simple. They don't know. As I said, medical science is not that long out of the dark ages. Regardless of the fact that we're in the 21st century, we are still playing around with human beings' health and lives. It's an experiment. This whole thing is a big experiment, really. But what can we do? What's the alternative? So we have to trust pretty much into the medical community and hope that they have our best interests at heart. Well, okay, that's fine. Mix and match the second shot. And if I get another one and it's not AstraZeneca, I'm not going to really worry about it. Okay? As I said, I've been lucky. But now they're talking about, changing the expiration dates on some of these drugs. There was a whole bunch of, I think it was AstraZeneca, I'm not sure. It was one of them. I could be wrong. It may not have been AstraZeneca. I guess sitting on a shelf somewhere, and it was getting close. They hadn't used it all up yet. And it was getting close to the best before date or whatever. So then they said, well, actually, they've done some more study and realized, well, actually, it has a longer shelf life than what they thought. Did it? Or are they just trying to, use it up? Okay, yeah, let's not waste the vaccine. Okay. But now you wonder, It's like milk in your fridge. You know, there's a best before date. But, you know, you look at it and you go, yeah, well, it's only a few days after the expiration. You give it a little sniff. It doesn't smell too bad. Yeah, I can do that. It's probably okay. It's just a suggestion, right? And in a lot of cases, it is. But is it just a suggestion when it comes to vaccines? You would like to think that they have a little clearer understanding of when this stuff is no longer effective. Okay, so they've extended the expiration date on some of this stuff, and you get one of those ones that supposedly expired. Are you getting a full dose? Or is this weakened? Weakened to the point where you've had the second shot, you're thinking you're pretty good at that, and that second shot doesn't do anything for you, and you're vulnerable again. I don't know. They're not telling us because they don't know. Or they do know, and they're, snowballing us. I don't know. Or snowing us, I guess, is more than snowballing, is the expression. But you know what I mean. And now suddenly they're saying, yeah, it's safe to give these shots to kids. Not a problem. Are they experimenting on children? Well, if you have to experiment, well, I jest. But how do they know? Quite frankly, I think the kids, the elderly, the most vulnerable in our society, as far as I am concerned, should have been the elderly and children. Of course, the frontline workers, they should have had it too. But all of us in between those, say between the ages of 65 and, 16 or something, or 18, maybe we could have put on hold for a little bit, and they could have directed their attention to the kids. Why do I say that? Because you've heard me say it many times before. Children are germ bags. They're little disease carriers. You're sticking them in a school. I've already had this conversation, so I'm not going over it again. And they spread it, they bring it home. Get them vaccinated sooner. But so now they're saying, yeah, they weren't sure before if it was safe for kids, but for some reason now they figure it's been safe for kids. How do they know that? How do they know that? Have they been doing human trials on children that we don't know about? I don't know. Or has someone just assumed, yeah, let's give it to the kids now? Okay, yeah, I think the kids should have it. But again, how do we know if it's safe? Well, I guess we're playing Russian roulette here. We're spinning the big wheel and hoping for the best. Because we're out of alternatives, I guess. So, how am I going to handle this? When the time comes up, when I can make an appointment to have my second shot, whichever one of the big three it happens to be, I will be getting it. I'm not going to worry about mixing and matching. I'm not going to worry about getting one particular type. I'm not going to worry about side effects. I'm just going to go in and hope for the best, because I think that is better than the alternative. So what am I pissed off at this week? I'm pissed off at the fact that we don't know as much, and when I say we, I mean the medical society, the government, the whole bit, don't know any more than the rest of us do about this stupid disease. And like everybody else, I'm just so effing sick of the whole thing, and I want it to go away. Okay, moving on. New things that I bought. Yes, I bought scissors. Okay, you're going to say, yeah, big deal. No. These are a big deal. These are a really nice pair of scissors. And in honor of Pride Month, not really, but they're rainbow. They're really pretty. They're heavy, and they cut like a dream. Now, these are for fabric, not for paper. And I bought them from a Canadian company that is not that far from me. It's just on the other side of Toronto, on the west side of Toronto in Mississauga. They're called LDH. They've got a very good reputation for their scissors. Their scissors are all hand sharpened. They stand behind their product. They're not cheap, but they're not as expensive as they could be. I have a pair of gingham scissors, and I think they're German made. and they cost me over $100. Actually, I bought them at Michael's and I used a 50% off coupon on them, so they didn't cost me $100. But that's what Michael's was selling them for. And well, you know, the prices in Michael's are extremely inflated on everything. That's why they have the coupons. And they were good scissors, really good scissors. But these, well, somebody recommended them to me on Crafting Chat last week, and they said they have what they call seconds that are cheaper. They're on sale. And why are they seconds? Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the scissors. It's in the aesthetic. There might be a little scratch or nick on the handle, which does not affect the function of the scissors. So Walter and I both bought a pair of these, and they were about $20 less. These were $65 a pair. We got them for $45. Actually, I think it was $47.58. I'm looking at them. If there's something wrong with these, something aesthetic, I can't see it. There's a couple of little marks right on this handle, which you need a magnifying glass to see. Don't affect me much. So, really nice scissors. So that's LDH scissors. You can find them online. Check it out. And check out the ones they have on sale, the seconds. They call them seconds. I also bought, since we're there, I bought a pair of snips. Now, these are not the kind of snips I usually use. Walter likes this style, and that's why he wanted a pair, so I thought, well, I'll get some too while I'm at it, because we wanted to get the order up to the amount we needed for free shipping anyways. That works on us every time, free shipping. Yep. Offer me free shipping, I will buy the limit and over it to get free shipping. So I have these. And they're the same. Now, these were not seconds, I don't think. And I forget how much they cost. But in the rainbow colors, I think that's really, really pretty. So, yeah. The other thing I bought, and now, I don't usually buy novelty fabrics. Let's have some coffee. You know, fun little prints and things like that with superheroes on it or whatever. But when I saw this, it caught my eye, and for some reason, I had to have it. Well, what caught my eye was this pattern. Now, I thought this was a kit, and I was wrong. It's made with panels in this line of fabric, and the line of fabric is called, what's it called? It's out. There's a name. Okay, let me see if I can find it on the salvage. Please bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. And of course, Northcott does not print the name of the line. It has something to do with outhouses. Believe it or not. And this was the little wall hanging that I saw, or a table runner you can make. I don't usually make cutesy novelty things, but I saw this and it kind of appealed to me. I don't know why. So I thought this was a kit. I was wrong. It was just the pattern. I bought it from Ultimate Sewing, and they told me they didn't have the pattern, or they didn't have the panel in stock, which is basically what you need to make this. Okay. I did find the panel on Peachtree's website, another one of my favorite quilting stores that are out west, and I ordered it from them, so I'm waiting for it to come. But in the meanwhile, I bought the entire line of this fabric. So you've got toilet paper. Now, I know what you're thinking. You could make a COVID quilt, and I might. I don't know. I haven't done one of those yet. A lot of people have. But of course, you know, the big scarcity of toilet roll gate at one time during the pandemic. So I've got that. This one is sort of more vintage style. It reminds me of Tim Holtz's eclectic line. But it's all bathroom humor, okay? Like, go in style. Time for a break. Please wash your hands. Is this seat taken? The reading room is open. Country library, you know, things that go with outhouse kind of things. This one is old advertisements on it. Again, reminds me of Tim Holtz's eclectic line. But they have like outhouses on it and toilets and things like that. Then, of course, they've got your background fabrics, you know, stones or, I don't know, rock kind of thing. Barn board sort of a thing. And of course, you know, the eclectic symbols. I don't know why they always did this, but you know, you see pictures of old outhouses and they often have a cutout in the door of, you know, moon and the star kind of a thing. So I got all of those, and as I said, I'm waiting for the panel, and I can do that. Plus, I don't know, I'll make something else out of it. What I will make, time will tell. Okay, and that's pretty much all that I've bought lately. I have a few more things on order, and when those come, I will show them to you. I always have something on order. You know my saying, a day without an Amazon delivery is a day without sunshine. And I have something to tell you about Amazon too a little bit later on, so stay tuned. Okay, so that takes us to stories about my grandmother, and that's holidays with my grandmother. And I think these are my fondest memories of going to my grandmother's either for a weekend or for a week in the summer or at Christmas or at Easter, because those were always events, and my grandmother always made them events. So, for example, let's talk Easter. When I was a little kid, my grandmother would go down to the local bake shop, and they made chocolate there as well. And at Easter time, they made chocolate bunnies and chocolate roosters. Now, these were really, really good because they were solid chocolate. And I don't know if the chocolate was probably the best chocolate in the world, but as a kid, who cared? It was chocolate, you know. It might have been a little bit on the waxy side, but it looked like a rooster or a bunny, and they'd be, they were a good size, at least in my memory they were. They're not like today when you get, you know, you buy a little chocolate thing about this big and it costs you $10. These were, you know, fair size. And what my grandmother would do is she'd buy all kinds of these and she'd hide them around the house. And we would have basically an Easter egg hunt, except we weren't looking for Easter eggs, we were looking for chocolate bunnies and roosters. And there were little clues. When you found one, you got the clue, and the clue would suggest where to look in the rest of the house for it. Now, we were little in those days when she did it. In fact, I think that stopped by the time when we were about 8 years old or 9 years old. I don't remember us really doing it much anymore. But the idea too is when we found them, this was not okay, I found it, it's mine. We shared. That was the rule. You go, you found them, you hunt them. They all came out onto the kitchen table, and they were sort of divvied up amongst everybody. But it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. So it was a great event. Now, summer was always a great event. I always spent at least one or a couple of weeks during the summer holidays at my grandmother's. Well, I guess it gave a break to my parents, but I loved it because when we were with my grandmother, every day was an adventure. We were either making something in the kitchen, or we were going shopping, or whatever. My grandmother had a great big huge wood pile of scrap wood out in her backyard. As kids, we used to, actually this kind of annoyed my grandmother, I think. We used to like disassemble that whole pile of wood and build forts with it. And I think it upset my grandmother a little bit because we didn't clean up after ourselves. So she'd be after us to do that. But that was fun. I enjoyed those times. And you know, I know there are people today that, you know, they grew up without grandparents for one reason or another. Like Walter never really knew his grandparents. He met them once because they were in Holland and he was here. And I know when I talk about my experiences with my grandparents that he is somewhat envious of that because that was something in his childhood he never really got to experience. And I think grandparents are wonderful for children because grandparents are like parents that let you do everything you want to do. You know, they feed you all the food that you're not supposed to eat, or that your parents would only give to you sparingly. And when I say food, I mean candy and ice cream and all kinds of things like that. And of course, they'd fill you full of that and send you home to the parents. I guess that's kind of revenge on their part, you know, to their kids. But grandparents are wonderful to have. And I certainly got the most out of mine. So the big holiday, though, was Christmas, of course. And my grandmother knew how to do Christmas right. Tons of food. Tons of chocolate and candy. Gifts. I always look forward to getting gifts from my grandparents because my grandparents always seemed to find unique things that were just right for me. When I got older, I realized that what was happening was my grandparents were giving my parents money to go out and get the toys for us kids because they weren't really sure what to buy us. But it didn't matter. It was still a thrill. I remember getting up on Christmas morning and we'd be at our own house and we'd go down and, you know, Santa and everything like that. And after we'd had breakfast and all that stuff, we'd usually pack up the car and drive to my grandparents. Now, my grandparents lived about an hour and a half, not quite an hour and a half, away from us. And it was just excitement all the way because I couldn't wait to get to my grandmother's because her house would be decorated. There'd be great smells from the kitchen from her cooking. It was just a joy to be there. And you know, even now, when I think about those memories from that, it makes me feel happy. And it's the same happiness I felt going to my grandparents at Christmas time. So yeah, holidays were special. They were fun. They were great. I miss those days. I do. But of course, you know, if those days were still here, my grandparents would be over 100 years old. So, yeah, not the same. But really, my grandparents passed away in what I would consider young and suddenly. And that's what I'm going to talk about next week because I've come to the end of my grandmother's stories. Sadly, maybe you're not so sad about it, but I've enjoyed going down this little memory lane with myself. So next week, it's going to be a little bit more somber, my story, but it is part of my experience with my grandparents, which is still part of, you know, of my memory and of life. Okay, so that takes us to the 3D corner. What have I been making? Egyptian things. I mean, everybody needs an Egyptian on the throne, and of course I made this one out of gold. Now you can't really see it on the video, and to be honest, you can't really see it that well in real life either. But on the back of this, if I shine the light, you see there's little scribbles here? They're hieroglyphics on the back of this. Now this is an actual statue that has been 3D scanned that's in a museum. And I think I mentioned this before. There's a site you can go to where you can download these models that are actually scanned from museum pieces and print them out for yourself. And that's where this came from. Another one like that is this. This is Heracles and Calliope. Now you're going to say, you said Hercules wrong. No, I did not. The Greeks called Hercules Heracles with a K. The Romans called him Hercules. Why do I know that? Because in second year university I took a Greek mythology course, and that's how my professor told us to say it when we saw a K, Heracles. The detail, I wish the lighting was a little better here, but the detail is incredible in this. Now, this one took a day and a half to print, and I put in all kinds of supports, and those were a bugger. They took me about 40 minutes to get all the supports off of this. It just looked like a big chunk of plastic marble when it came off the 3D printer, and I had to pull and tear and cut and rip and pry off all those supports to get to this. And that's why I do not like printing things that have a lot of supports. But this one I thought was really cool, and so I put up with that, and it came out pretty nice. I did learn when I was doing this, though, an easier way to get supports off. If I hit it with my heat gun, you know, my crafting heat gun, and just heat it up a little bit, because the supports are a little thinner plastic, they're a little easier to sort of peel off when you do that. Of course, I didn't figure that out until about the very tail end of pulling off most of the supports on this, but now I know for the future. Now, I did have a problem with my printer this week, and you will. I mean, this is inevitable. In fact, in anticipation that there would be parts that I would need to replace, I have ordered parts from Amazon over the period that I've had this 3D printer, like new nozzles, new couplings, new wheels, things like that, so that I have a storehouse of parts when I need to fix my 3D printer. Well, I was doing this print, and I went away from it, and I told you it took a day and a half to do. And suddenly I came back after a few hours, and yeah, I had spaghetti, which meant that my filament was not coming out properly. It wasn't adhering. And at one point, it just wasn't shooting any filament out at all. So that means I have a blockage. So there's a couple of spots where you check to see why there's blockage. I went to those, started again, still had the blockage. So it came down to that I needed to replace what they call the hot end nozzle, and that's where the plastic filament is heated up and it is extruded out to make your model. Now, I had never replaced one of those before, but I watched a YouTube video. It's pretty simple. The tricky part is you have to heat it up, so you're dealing with a hot piece of metal that you can get burned on, so you do have to be careful. So I did replace that and got it all fixed up, and away we went, and no problems. Now, I looked at that nozzle when I took it out, and yeah, it definitely needed to be replaced. It's metal, but because of the temperatures you're dealing with, and over time, the metal starts to warp, and it discolors, and it starts to break down. And that's what exactly had been happening. Well, let's think about this. I got this printer back last fall, and I don't think I've had one day where it isn't printing something. In fact, right now it's been having a little rest overnight, and after I'm finished the vlog, I'm going over there to get it up and going again, printing more. So yeah, there's a lot of extremes in temperature. I mean, it heats it all up to like 200 to 210 degrees C, and then it cools it right down, and it heats it back up. And if you're doing anything like that, there's stress on metal, right? And that's what was happening with that. But I have a whole ton of replacement nozzles for it, and now that I've done it once, I can do it again whenever that time comes. So not only does it just, I'm learning how to, you know, manipulate models and print them out, but I'm also learning something about fixing this gadget and its workings. And, you know, for me, I'm not very mechanical, so this is a new venture here, which is great. We all need new challenges in life to keep ourselves going, keep the brain going. Okay, so that's what I've been doing with 3D printing. And what's next? Okay, second part of my blast from the past of my mixed media shoes. And here's the second half of that video for you to see. Now, I'm thinking, what am I going to do next? Well, I think the side needs some glamming up as well. So I am thinking of taking these two little stencils and some of this paint, but I might do it in a copper or a gold or something, and doing it a little bit around it. Now, I'm not sure how well this type of paint is going to work with this, but I'm going to give it a try, and I'll be back and show you what happened. Okay, so I'm going to try to do a little stenciling on the side of this, and I'm going to try to use this paint. This is the copper color. It's pretty thick, so I should be able to build it up. It'll add a little texture. So I'm going to take some of the copper first, and I've got the silver out as well, and I may try that too. And let's try it with the, whatever these are. Look like little dragonflies. And I'm going to apply it with a makeup sponge. And see what happens here. Actually, that's not doing too bad a job. Yeah, that's kind of adding some stuff to it. The trouble is it's round. Oops, I may have blown that one. Yeah, I did. But because this has got, I think I can wipe it right off when it's wet. Yep, I can. So let's try this again. Yeah, I'm having a little trouble here because of the curvature. So maybe we'll just stick to sort of the flatter sides, flatter areas. I'm going off screen, sorry. Okay, they're getting a little mucked up, but they're adding a little bit of dimension here. You want to know something? Okay, I'll leave that amount there, and then I'm going to get out the silver. Silver's kind of hard in here. I don't know if I can get it out. There's a palette knife. Yeah, my silver's kind of dried up. Well, that's not good. Maybe if I add any water to it, I can soften that up. Okay, so that's not going to work for me. Alright, let's pull up another color. How about some light gold? Wow. Okay, that just shot out there like... Okay, let's try this again. And let's snip off this. We'll try the stars. This is kind of awkward because these ones are still wet. Okay, I think what I need to do is dry those first and then come back and try the other color. So I will do that. Okay, so I had mixed results with the stencils and that glitter paint. I don't know if you can see it here, but I got some little dragonflies and I got some gold stars on them here and there. It looks a little better when you see it in real life than here on the camera, because I don't think the camera's picking it up all that well. But I only put a few on because it was very awkward trying to get it to lay flat against the curvature of the shoe itself. So now I'm thinking I should add some more bling in around the edges of the sole, and I've got out these, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to use glue. So I think I'll just put a little bit of glue along the edge and put these on. That's going to take some time, so I'll come back. So now I've added some bling along the edges here in strips, and I glued it all down, and I put one up into the top here as well. So it's coming along quite nicely, I think. And right here I've created some butterflies. I punched these out in 2 different sizes out of some paper that I made, and oops, get that in the shot. And I've added a Wink of Stella on top of it, and they're double-sided. And I'm thinking I'm going to glue these in certain spots on the shoes as well. So now I have finished the shoe, and what I've done is I added to the front and to the sides some Prima flowers, and at the back as well, and my butterflies that I mentioned before. Keep it in shot. I have them down here at the front of the shoe as well. It's
kind of awkward to show you the full shoe in this, but I'll take some pictures of it and post them at the end of this video. So there we go. There's my first altered shoe, and I think it's looking quite neat. Now I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I was thinking maybe I could put a little container in here and you could put some markers or pens or whatever into the top of it and put it on my desk, and we'll see. I also sprayed the whole thing over with a finishing coat of clear gloss spray as well, fixative spray, so it gives it a little bit more of a shine to it as well, and will help to preserve some of this material that's on it. So anyways, for my first effort, I'm thinking that turned out pretty nice.
So I don't have any new projects again, so I think I'll go into my vaults and see if I can find an old project that I've done and share that with you. Another blast from the past next week. What it will be, I have no idea. I'll see what I can find. Okay, so events in the past week. Update on my mother. She's fine, except last week was a little hairy. I had lots of paperwork to fill out, and I had questions and things that I had to answer and confirm on phone. It seemed like I was getting a phone call from the nursing home every day about something. I got one yesterday afternoon though, and this one I think I'm going to have to explore a little further because I'm a little concerned. They called me up and they said that my mother had developed a cough when she's drinking something, and so they have thickened her fluids. Now this is some kind of compound they put in her juice and even in water, things like that she's drinking, which makes the liquid a little bit more, I don't know what the consistency would be like, but it thickens it. I keep thinking like Jello, but I don't think it's like Jello. And it's easier for them to swallow. Well, Walter's mother had something like this when she was in the nursing home, and she was having trouble swallowing. There wasn't any coughing, I don't think, because basically that's one of the elements of dementia. So that's what makes me a little worried. You know, my sister swears my mother has the early stages of dementia, but I don't see it the way she does. Maybe I don't see it because I don't want to see it. I don't know. But I think it's come to the point where I need to make an actual appointment with the nurse practitioner and review my mother's medication and her general health and get some straight answers. Not that they haven't been giving me straight answers, but I don't know. I think I should do that. There isn't much I can do about it, but it'll just keep me in the loop, and you know, I'll know more. So, you know, knowledge is a good thing. So, but besides that, she seems to like the new nursing home. And oh yeah, the other thing they wanted me to do is, I guess they have my mother's TV set up on a little folding table in her room. And I think I mentioned before, the room, she's in a private room, but it's not very big. And when you've got a wheelchair, you don't want a lot of things in the way. So they recommended that I get a wall mount for the TV. Well, okay, that's not a problem. Trouble is, her television set's only 24-inch. Most people's TVs these days are much bigger than that, and so getting a mount for a TV that size is not as easy. Plus, given the fact that we have to order it online because of the situation we're in right now with COVID in our area. Well, we did find one that should work on Costco, and it's supposedly coming sometime this week. So I've got to send an email to the person that's involved with this at the nursing home, let them know, yep, I got one on order. Now they're going to install it and everything like that, and that's great. I just have to get it. So yeah, but that was another thing last week that just, you know, dumped on my plate. Another thing I have to, I mean, it's not a major worry, but it is somewhat of a pain, you know what I mean. Okay, but she's good, and that's great. And maybe soon we'll be actually able to go inside the new place and see what it's like and everything when I get my second shot and whatever. Okay, time will tell. Okay, so we had Craft and Chat this past week. First Wednesday of every month is Craft and Chat, as you know. Always have a good time on Craft and Chat. And not only that, I always learn a lot of things. And that's actually how I found out about these scissors and where to get them from. So there's a few people on there that I would call enablers. And I mean that in a good sense. I didn't even know I needed new scissors, but I did. So I bought them. But yeah, it's a great group, good conversation, and I always get a lot done. So yeah, if you've never joined us for a Craft and Chat, it's during the day on a first Wednesday of the month, as I said, from 1 until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's an open door. No, you don't have to pre-register or anything like that. I put the link up the week before in my show notes for everything that I put on YouTube, and you're more than welcome to join us. We had some new people the other day. It was great. We also had my monthly art journal group Zoom meeting. That was yesterday. Always learn something. Such a talented group of people that are involved with this, and we've been together for about 4 years now, the most of us. So I call these people my friends because they are. And I always post, I record it, and I post it on my channel because there's all kinds of information about crafting products and techniques and things like that. And this is more for people who actually do paper crafting or scrapbooking, that kind of stuff, because that's what all of them are. It's mixed media, it's art journaling, and more. Stamping, die cutting, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, you might want to check it out because you're going to see some products, new products, get honest reviews about those products and how they're being used by the various people that belong to the group. So it's a great fountain of knowledge. So that takes us to one last thing before I sign off today. And this just happened this morning. Last week, actually last Friday or something, I ordered a little tool kit that I wanted to use with my 3D printer. It just makes getting the screws and things out a little easier. And it was recommended by someone that I was watching their YouTube channel, and this is what they were using. And I thought, wow, that looks pretty good. So I went on Amazon, I found it. It was not expensive little kit. It was about $11.95. I mean, it did have a kind of a lengthy delivery date because it said something it would take from, what did it say? I have the notes here. You know, it could expect delivery between, well, I don't have it now, but it was like something like, oh, here it is. June the 28th to July the 20th. Usually I stay away from things that have those kind of delivery dates, but there was another one exactly like it. I could have got it sooner, but it was 3 times the price. So I thought, I don't need it immediately. There's no rush. I'll order this one. Well, this morning when I got up and checked my email, I had this note from the seller. It said, thank you very much for purchasing the product from our shop, but I'm sorry to contact you. Due to an error in the Amazon system, the pricing of our product is abnormal. Therefore, we have to contact you and hope to cancel this order. I'm very sorry for that. Please accept my sincere apology. We will contact you as soon as we find an abnormality. For such a low price for me, it is completely unsatisfactory for the freight from China to the United States. This mistake will inevitably bring you a lot of inconvenience and trouble, but this time the problem is our company has caused huge losses. Not only loss of orders, but also account freezes. You'll notice that the English in this is a little out of whack too, and I'm reading it exactly as it's printed here. If I do not handle it properly, the company may fire me. This is why it contacted you. Hope to get your forgiveness. I will cancel your order as soon as possible so that you can get a full refund quickly. If necessary, you can quickly purchase the products you need. I'm very sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, obviously English is not their first language. But there's some things on here that set up a red flag for me. It sounded a bit like a scam. This whole point about this person being fired, why would you put that in there? And something about if necessary, you can quickly purchase the products you need. What I was worried about was, okay, this already went on my Visa card, on my credit card. Are they going to try and charge something to my Visa card that I'm not going to get and like double the price? Or are they going to like up the price on this? Because I don't want it if it's not that price. That's why I ordered it. So on Amazon, you can report what they call suspicious activity. I did. I actually copied this message into the message box that they had and sent it off to customer support. But it really got me worried, more so. So I wanted to see if I could talk to somebody. Now, I couldn't find it today, but I did chat with somebody on Amazon through a chat system a couple of weeks ago. And I thought that worked really well. But I couldn't find it again this time. I don't know if they've taken that down or where it is. So I went looking for a contact number because all the other customer support things were, again, to write them like in their report, report this, you write this down, and then, they're giving you dates for when, if you don't hear from the seller by such and such a date, then you can do this and that. And I didn't want to wait. So I found their number for customer support. Now I figured I'd be put on hold or get nobody, I did this at 7 o'clock this morning, or they would say their hours are from such and such and it's probably in Pacific time or something like that. No, I dialed the number. I immediately got a person. Bang! Like I got the menu system, but it was a short one and I pushed one button and bang, I got a human being. He couldn't have been nicer. And talk about knowledgeable. I gave him my name. Asked me for the verification of my address. I gave him that. And did I have the order number? Well, I did. But before I even got the whole number out, he had it up on his screen. He knew exactly what I was talking about. I have to say, their system is good. A lot of companies, should study Amazon and how they deal with this kind of thing. And when I'm thinking of other companies, I'm thinking like our main service provider of television, TV, and internet, Bell, because they suck. But just as an aside, Bell lately has been running commercials on TV that are supposedly, they've got people on there going, yeah, I'm having a problem with my service, and I phoned Bell. And then they go, and I was so surprised they fixed it right up immediately. Yeah, I don't know. Bell obviously knows that they've got a bad reputation, but advertising is not going to fix it. But I come back to Amazon now. So, the guy knew, I read this to him, but he had a copy of it in front of him. He knew exactly everything that was there, and he went right into action. So the bottom line of this was, he said to give the company, the seller, until Wednesday to reverse the charge to my credit card to get the refund back. If I did not, by the end of Wednesday, I was to contact them again, and they sent me an email with all the information for doing that and let them know. They were investigating it. It had now gone to their investigations office or something. And he told me, he said, this is the first time he had ever seen this kind of email from a seller. And I told him I suspected it was a scam, but maybe not. I don't know. So they were taking it extremely serious and are investigating it. In the meantime, he credited my credit card with $20 for the inconvenience. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. He profusely apologized for this service. Couldn't have been more polite, couldn't have been more knowledgeable. Knock me over with a feather. Really. Say what you will about Amazon, and there's lots of things people say about Amazon, but as far as I'm concerned, their customer service is second to none. Now, if you have a problem with Amazon and you don't want to do the usual procedure of, going in and, there's a spot with your order where you can put in your complaint or whatever and all that kind of stuff, I have put the number that I called in the show notes. because from here on in, if I ever have another problem with something I've ordered from Amazon, that's where I'm going to go to it. So yeah, so we'll see what happens over the next few days. But I'm really, really impressed with their service. So I thought I'd just share that with you. So basically that brings us to the end of today's vlog. Just an advance notice. I've talked about this before, but on July the 10th, I'm having what I'm now calling Stephen's Creative Birthday Bash, which is a day of sewing and crafting and art making. All are welcome. No pre-registration necessary. There will be the Zoom link the week before in all my show notes for all of my channels. And I'm hoping you'll be able to join us for that day to work on things, to have lively and light conversation if we wish, and maybe make a few new friends. And I'm still working on maybe some other special things in all of this as well, which I don't know what they are yet. So that's just an advance warning. That's July the 10th, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and running until 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so that's me today. Thank you for joining me. Watch for the Idiot Quilter episode coming out tomorrow, and there's a new thing that I'm doing, and I'm going to explain that on the Idiot Quilter tomorrow. And of course, near the tail end of the week, there'll be the next edition of So Chatty. I think we're going to talk about a couple of the specialty feet that a lot of people may get with their sewing machine but don't know what to do with them. One of those will be the button holder. A lot of people are intimidated by that, but you shouldn't be. It's great. And of course, Stephen and Walter live next Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.